up, everybody? It's your girl Micca, and you're watching the Red Cup Podcast, where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Micca, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks because this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. It is the 15th of the month. Okay. Some of the federal workers got paid. You know, some of them didn't. I'm hoping they at least go ahead and pay those FAA workers, you know, the people that take care of our planes, the people that do the air traffic control, okay? Because it's a mess down there, DCA. But what's going on, you guys? What's going on? What's going on, Charlie? What's going on, Sugar Shane? Loud and clear. What's going on, Mr. Renegade? Donna, Nick J. I see you guys. Magnetar. Who else? We got your car. ATL Flipper. All right. All right, Terrible People Podcast. I see you in here early. All right. I see you guys. I think this is Reggie. What's going on, Reggie? All right, Tyrone. I see you. DJ Vapors. I see you. I am the original Snow Bunny Chaser. What's going on? What's going on, Quita E? I see you down there. What's going on? Y'all, we have a lot to get into. I couldn't even do a you guys know how I do the shots, right? The little bit of stories that we get into and not a long diatribe on the I couldn't even do that because the stuff that we're going to talk about today is it's a lot. Okay? Some people don't want to touch on this story, especially some conservatives, right? They don't want to touch on it because they're afraid to speak their authentic thoughts, right? And so a lot of people will not touch on this young Republican story, especially if they're conservative, right? The left is all over it. Well, the left is all over anything that's Republican, okay, or conservative. They're all over that. But they're never on their other stuff, you know, the stuff that they should be on, but I digress. But a lot of people don't want to touch it, okay? But here at the Red Cup, we're going to talk about it. Some people may agree, some people may disagree, but you know, we're here to talk about the truth. We're here to talk about things that other people won't talk about. Sometimes we touch on, you know, things that everybody's talking about, but sometimes we gotta dig deep. So we're gonna talk about a lot of that today. What's up? What's up, Loso Way? What's up, Ruckus Nephew? Ruckus Nephew. Y'all are wild. What's up, Johnny Jackson? What's up? What's up? I see you guys coming in. All right. Who else we got in here? Got Flavor. What's going on? Snuggles. I see you. Rio. I see you. Okay. I know some of my liberals are going to pull up to the chat. All right. There are some liberals that like me. They don't like that, you know, I vote red, but they like me anyway. You know, we cool. They cool. What's going on, Alicia? All right, you guys. Yes. Yeah, we're going to get into it. All right. So let's go ahead and start because when I tell you it's about to get messy, it's about to get messy. Let me move this right here. All right. So let's go ahead and start. I want to start not with that. I want to start with California. All right. And the reason why I want to start with California is because one, I'm sick of California. Okay. California. I'm absolutely sick of it. All right. California wants money for everything. California doesn't take care of its people. California has like nut jobs running it. California has to be the worst place. Absolutely the worst place in the union. Okay. And I stand on that 100%. It has some great people, but it has all of the liberal nut jobs. I don't know what attracts them to California, but that's where they are. All right. So the reason why I wanted to start with California is because California tends to want to, you know, keep the whole narrative of identity politics alive. And when I say identity politics alive, I'm talking about, they're the home of, sanctuary cities, ICE, let everybody come across the border, because that's the home of gambling. And they are okay with all the degenerate things going down in California. Okay. But I think California is done. Okay. Between the trans stuff and the sports, between ICE, between the fires. I mean, it's just a lot going on. All right. So, with that being said, I want to go ahead and get into this state of emergency that California decided that it was going to call. So California called a state of emergency. Now, normally you think of a state of emergency, you think of I don't know, a fire, you think of flooding, you think of things like that, a natural disaster, hurricanes, things like that. Nope. California has a state of emergency for ice raids. You can't make it up. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole because California is done. Here we go. Y'all can't hear it? Here we go again. Here is the internet again. Hold on, you guys. I will connect it again. And then let me know if you can hear it. All right. We'll start again. All right. Now I'm going to play it and then you tell me if you can hear it.
And welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page, as we continue to bring you some of the day's biggest top stories and headlines. Our next story takes us out to L.A. and L.A. County today voting to declare a state of emergency that gives them power to provide assistance for residents they say have suffered financially from ongoing federal immigration raids. The move allows the LA County Board of Supervisors to provide rent relief for tenants who have fallen behind as a result of the crackdown on immigrants. The immigration raids that ramped up over the summer have spread fear in immigrant communities, prompting many to limit their outings. Federal agents have rounded up immigrants without legal status to be in the U.S. from Home Depots, car washes, bus stops, and farms. Some U.S. citizens have also been detained. The local state of emergency can also funnel state money for legal aid and other services. So it was just a matter of time, though, before an ICE representative would respond to this. And we do have the statement that we want to bring to you here on Live Now from Fox. Fox News' Bill Mallusion putting this out. This is an ICE statement to Fox News from the ICE spokesperson. And here it is. The only state of emergency is the one the residents of Los Angeles face after electing officials who give a middle finger to the law. Perhaps the board should supervise funds to support law-abiding fire victims who still haven't recovered instead of criminal illegal aliens seeking refuge in their sanctuary city.
That's bad.
While they publicly fearmonger, I would be shocked if they didn't agree with ICE removing a child rapist from their neighborhood. So that is the response from ICE, and we will wait and see what some other responses are from this big move from LA County that will be trying to help those that feel they don't want to leave their homes.
So, LA County, California at large, decides that it's going to take your tax dollars and again give it to the illegals. They have found another way to funnel it. Oh my God. They have found another way. Okay. So they're essentially saying families of mixed statuses, because they keep trying to throw in, that somebody might be a citizen, somebody in the house, right? And so they keep saying families of mixed statuses, they are being affected by these ICE raids because the main breadwinner, which is usually, in Hispanic families or Latino families, is usually the dad. Okay. So the dad, let's say he's illegal. He can't go out. And then let's say if the mom is illegal too, she can't go out. Okay. because she's afraid of the ICE raids. So now you have people that are afraid of the ICE raids. They can't make money. And now they may lose their jobs, which in turn lose their apartments, houses, whatever they have. They can't pay the mortgage. They can't pay it. When I tell you California is trash, they are trash. Because I'm going to tell you why. California has allowed this to go on for so long, right? It's gone on for so long that essentially they are a part of the economy in California. All right. So let's say if all the illegal immigrants stop paying, their mortgages, like everything is going to crash out there in California. And that's why they are trying to save it. They are trying to save it because they know, they absolutely know. And they're going to use your money to do it. California already passed this measure. You cannot make this stuff up. Okay. Now, those people that lost their homes in the Pacific Palisades, they still have not gotten to rebuild. They have all this permit stuff. And you remember when Donald Trump went there and he said to them, get rid of the red tape. And, I was about to call her Lori Lightfoot, but the other bald-headed one, okay, Mayor Bass, all right, she's out here talking about, oh, yeah. We're going to take away all the red tape. There will be no red tape. Those people still have not gotten back into their houses or rebuild, okay? They can't even start because they have to do permit this and permit that. This takes 1,001 years. They haven't even started. And we know why they haven't started, because they really want to turn that into affordable housing for illegal migrants. So they're just holding them up. That's all they're doing. Yep. That's all they're doing. They're holding these people up just so they can pretty much do a land grab. Okay. These people are not going to get any type of assistance. And on top of that, if you really want to look at it, they can't even get the money because most of the insurance companies left California. Okay. So they don't even have coverage for what happened. If you think that California didn't know that, please. That's why, in my opinion, allegedly, they let it burn. All right. They wanted that area. And those are just my thoughts on that. All right. But they always find enough money for illegals. I don't understand. How are they able to find enough money for illegals? Every time. Absolutely every time. It's wild. All right. But that's one thing. All right. So let's move on to the next thing in California. What's going on, Jay the Legend? What's going on, Spaces? Yeah. I California, child. Let's move on. So California is also going ahead with their whole gender bender thing, okay, in the sports. So I want you guys to hear what this lady had to say about LA and the whole trans is women argument and what's actually going on in LA. Like, you cannot make it up. And of course, she was arguing with Piers Morgan. Okay, Piers Morgan has been a long time liberal, but lately he's kind of running the middle of the road train, kind of like Stephen A. All right, but I want you guys to hear what he had to say. What's going on, True Patriot?
They are now part of, they have been through a transition, a physical transition, and I do believe that they should be able to participate with other female athletes.
Wow, well, you've got the Olympics coming to California, to LA. So are you suggesting that you would allow trans athletes to compete in women's sport in the Olympics if you were governor?
Well, I think there's still a lot of discussion that needs to happen. I think there's a lot of information we need to learn about what's really happening with the ability of trans athletes to compete. But my statement is about being able to be sure that they can compete. And right now,
but my question is whether you think they should compete in women's sport in the Olympics, because it's coming to LA, so it's relevant.
I think transgender female athletes are women athletes, and they should be able to compete.
Really? So if you were governor of California, you would support biological males who identify as women competing in women's sport in the Olympics?
Mm-hmm. They are now identified as transgender female.
And you think that makes, and you think it's fair that they should then compete in women's sport?
I think they should be able to compete in women's sports, but I also think that there is still some discussion about whether they should compete in the same field. But I just want them to be able to participate.
Sure, I'm sure
There's
you
a
do.
lot of
Why, out of interest, why do you think we separate the sexes in the Olympics?
Well, because they do come with different attributes in terms of physicality. And,
Right.
So you accept that we separate the sexes because men have a physical advantage over women?
I know about an advantage in some sports, yes. In other sports, maybe not.
Can you think of a single sport in the Olympics where men would not have an advantage over women, with the exception potentially of archery?
You know, I think you can see female athletes where, particularly in track and field, where agility is probably.
Hang on, are you suggesting that women? So hang on, you think that women could compete against men in track and field?
Yes,
like
she
in
does.
100 meters, 200 meters,
Yes, she does.
10,000 meters. Do you?
Perhaps, you know, I'm not a sports expert. But...
Of course they couldn't. Have you seen the times that women and men record in
Exactly.
the Olympics for all track and
Usain
field
Bolt.
events? Have you watched Usain Bolt when he smashed the world record for the 100 meters?
Yes, yes.
So you
And
think
women are
women
also
could run
smashing
against Usain Bolt, for example, at his peak, and that would be fair?
I think, look, I'm just going to say this.
Girl,
There's a lot of misinformation about the ability of transgender athletes.
That wasn't my question. My question was,
transgender
you've got
women.
the Olympics coming to your state.
Yes.
You want to be the California governor. I am actually
Yeah.
a resident in California, in Los Angeles. I'm very curious about your response to how you would want the Olympics to be conducted, which would be fair and equitable for women. But it seems to me like you would like to remove any sexual differentiation between the Olympic sports and let them all compete. It would be gender neutral, wouldn't it, if you were governor?
Well, I want to be sure that everyone has the ability to compete.
Right, but
And
would
if it
you have a
means getting
gender
gender
neutral Olympics where you would have you wouldn't have male and female sport then? You just have one that everyone could join in.
Well, I don't think we're going to get that tomorrow, but I think it's a conversation worth having.
You think it's a conversation worth having where you have gender neutral Olympics?
Because we need to understand what the attributes are of athletes across the spectrum.
But you've already said that you understand the reason they separate the sexes is that men have a physical advantage over women.
you cannot make this up. And that woman wants to be the next governor, okay? She's about as nutty as that Katie chick, okay? You know, the Katie chick, the one that screams at all of her staffers, okay? The one that rolled out on the reporter because she didn't like being questioned and she didn't like follow-up questions, okay? That one, yeah, she's exactly the same. They don't have one that isn't a nut. These white liberal women are just absolutely nuts, okay? The black liberal women are nuts as well. But the white liberal ones, you cannot make up the stuff that they like, okay? The stuff that they want to talk about, you just look at them like, I know, you're not serious. Oh, yeah, they dead ass. They're so serious. So serious. So this woman wants to be your governor, okay? And she's basically saying that men and women should be unisex sports, okay? If that woman thinks that Usain Bolt won't blow the entire, I don't care how many fast women you get. I don't care if that woman runs like a cheetah, okay? At his peak, you're not beating him. You're not beating him. I don't understand it. You're not beating that man, okay? You could get probably the 200th man that runs track. You could probably get a college boy that women don't run faster than. Okay? Hell, what's her name? Serena Williams literally practices with I think he's either in the 100 and something in the world or 200th and something. But he's a tennis player. And he's 100th or 200th in the world. And he's faster than the fastest woman athlete in tennis. And he's at the bottom when it comes to men. So I don't understand why we don't get this. This absolutely blows my mind. I can't. And on top of that, you're essentially saying that men, okay, get to be women. Men get they holler and scream about misogyny, but they allow men to tell women what women are. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. But misogyny is when you have a patriarchy, you have a father that wants to be in a home and protect his daughters and his family. That's misogyny. But, a man that wants to be a woman by putting on a wig is not misogyny, and he can run a 4-4 and it's fine. Women gonna be in the dust. The Olympics, child. When I tell you California is going to try all types of things to get those type of people in the Olympics, watch what I tell you, okay? Donald Trump is going to have a fight on his hands. But that's the other nonsense that's happening in California. When I tell you California is done, it's done, okay? It's so done. Now, here is the last and latest nonsense in California, okay? Now, I want to take you guys back down memory lane, okay? You guys remember bald-headed Ayanna Priestley and her H40 reparation speech? If you don't, let me play a little bit for you, and then I'm going to come back and tell you why I played this, okay? Here we go.
All right, good afternoon, and thank you, everyone, for braving the inclement weather as we gather to take an essential step forward in the long and ongoing fight for justice, accountability, and healing for Black America. Today, I'm deeply honored to reintroduce H.R. 40, historic legislation to establish a federal commission to examine the lasting legacy of slavery, to develop reparations proposals for descendants of enslaved Africans.
Sure.
It is an honor to inherit the privilege of carrying this bill forward.
Girl.
From Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. In my last correspondence with her, she said, keep working on our priorities.
She ain't say that.
And never give up. She was the previous House sponsor of H.R. 40 and a true giant in the movement for reparative justice. We are grateful for her leadership. We are grateful for her example and her voice. May she rest in peace and power. And we are grateful to be joined here today by her daughter, former Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter, who today, when I thanked her for braving the elements to journey here, said true justice is never convenient. I want to acknowledge some of our partners in good trouble in this fight. Senator Cory Booker, our co-lead in the Senate, Chairwoman Yvette Clarke of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, Congresswoman Latifah Simon, Congresswoman Summer Lee, and the more than 70 members of Congress who have signed on to co-sponsor the legislation that was first introduced. And I want to make this point because it is Black History Month. And while there are those that are working actively, either to erase our history or to whitewash it, that I'm here in this moment to pick up the mantle of this historic legislation that has been championed by John Conyers, Congressman John Conyers, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. That was introduced more than 30 years ago when Congressman John Conyers was a co-founder of the Congressional Black Caucus.
The same Congressional Black Caucus that hasn't done nothing today, the same Congressional Black Caucus that didn't want to showcase Black women at their convention just this year and decided to keep them off of the whole programming, okay? Stick them all the way in the back so you couldn't see them all because they have a difference of party that they vote for. Okay, that same Congressional Black Caucus is what she's talking about. The same Congressional Black Caucus that she's talking about that did this 30 years ago. How many times can you study reparations? How many times? How many times can you study it? Because I know if I study something 1,001 times, I know it, right? That's the whole point of studying. So they're not dumb. They absolutely know what they're talking about, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, what ends up happening is this. Gavin Newsom decided that he was going to veto the new reparations study. Okay. So you're allowed to study it, but everything else that was with it, he got rid of. So essentially, you're not getting no reparations. Okay. I don't know why people keep thinking the Democrats are going to do this. I don't know why. I don't know, but they keep talking about it. So here we go. California's Newsom signs a reparations study, which we're going to talk about because they already did it. Remember Kamala talked about it? Okay. Yeah. He signs the reparations study, but vetoes other racial justice proposals. And the reason why he did that, okay, he signed a law authorizing $6 million for the state California State University to study how to confirm an individual's status as a descendant of an enslaved person. Like, really? Absolutely. Really? Okay. So you have all of this, right? But he vetoed the other bills California Legislative Black Caucus championed. Okay. Now, you have all of these things that he supposedly wants to do for Black people, but he can't seem to bring himself to all those Black people he panders to. He can't seem to bring himself to give them what they are really asking him for, which is reparations. Oh, we can study it. They're going to study this thing to their blue in the face, okay? You just heard bald-headed Ayanna Priestley, okay, who has bald-headed reasoning, okay, her and the rest of the crew. They have already done this 30 years ago. She brought it back this February, okay, HR 40. She brought it back to the House, and now you have the Black Caucus doing this, right? So they talk about all this stuff that Donald Trump is supposedly doing, all this harmful, blah, 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 but yet they haven't done it. Why? Okay. And this is the same Black Caucus. I want you all to be clear. This is the same Black Caucus from a year ago. All right. This is what they did with reparations a year ago after telling Black people this very thing. You cannot make it up. Okay. Like, you cannot make it up, you guys. Hold on. I got to take this off again. Lord Jesus. My internet is killing me. Here we go. Let's see if it does it now. My internet is killing me. All right, here we go. Because I want you guys to be able to hear this. Here we go.
Tonight, the leader of California's reparations task force is speaking out after state lawmakers blocked 2 reparations-related proposals. The California Legislative Black Caucus decided to withhold those bills from moving forward. That led to a big protest at the Capitol over the weekend, as you see here. That's what the video is that you're watching right now. KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala spoke with the reparations leader.
Yeah, so Ashley, what does she have to say about how this whole session ended over the weekend?
And Golston and Lisa, Camila Moore was the chairwoman of California's historic reparations task force. That group wrapped up its work last year after spending years studying the effects of slavery, racial discrimination, and its impact on Black Californians. She says she felt betrayed by the Black Caucus after it decided to block 2 bills she says were fundamental for reparations.
Okay. It's the Black Caucus now.
Emotions still high after this scene at the state capitol over the weekend.
It's
2
Black
bills.
people stopping their own people from getting their reparations.
Reparations supporters frustrated by the Legislative Black Caucus's last-minute decision to block votes in the Assembly on proposals that would establish a state agency and state fund for reparations. The Black Caucus divided, with some saying they were afraid of the governor's veto, while the caucus leader, Assemblymember Lori Wilson, claimed the bills did not have the votes.
I think what happened on Saturday was unconscionable.
Camila Moore led California's reparations task force that helped come up with these recommendations.
A whole
She did
task
not
force.
expect this.
What we saw was a complete betrayal by the California Legislative Black Caucus
Really?
against their own constituents.
I know.
They chose to prioritize their ego and their own self-interest over the people that they claim to serve.
It seemed like Democratic legislative leaders were hands-off about this. Do you think they should have stepped in?
I do think that the Assembly leadership, namely the Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas, should have, intervened. In effect, he sided with the Black Caucus.
How do you, the advocates, the supporters, how do you all move forward here? What are the next steps?
The next step for us is to keep pushing to hold the California Legislative Black Caucus accountable.
We tried to get a response from caucus leader Assemblymember Lori Wilson at a different reparations-related rally that she was supposed to headline at the state capitol Tuesday, but she canceled her appearance. I tried asking supporters about the situation.
Do you have any thoughts that you want to share right now?
They dodged the question.
Now, Assemblymember Wilson's spokesperson told us in part she canceled her appearance there because she did not want to detract from the importance of that.
Girl, bye. You canceled your appearance there because you knew you were a lie. Okay, a whole lie, just like they are today. So this was a year ago. So I don't know why anybody in the world would believe these people, why they would believe Gavin. Okay, all that shucking he be doing, trying to be cool with y'all. And that man don't like you. That man don't like you. He don't like the illegals either. Okay. The man doesn't care about anybody but himself. Okay. He don't even care about the white liberals that's there. All right. He doesn't care about any of it. He's using Act Blue funds that's supposed to go to people, they got displaced by the fire. He's using it to buy homes. Literally. So I don't know why people actually thought that this man was going to do something. I don't know why they thought he was going to do something. That man is not going to do anything. Okay. They're going to use that money to the people that they feel push that economy forward. And they do not feel like Black people push that economy. They feel like those illegals push the economy. Okay. And they only feel that way because the illegals are allowing them to get more seats. All right. It's so many coming across that they get to gerrymander the state to death because you get to do this by how many numbers are represented in your districts during the census. Okay. And they all vote Democrat. Okay. If you let me somewhere for free too, I would vote for you. So he knows this. So economically, politically, they are what he's focusing on. What are Black people doing for him? And mind you, it should be the other way around, but we know how politics works. Black people aren't lining his pockets. Black people aren't getting him places. Okay? They're another cog in the wheel that the Democrats use as they have been doing since the civil rights era. Okay? They do it on purpose. And they keep doing the same thing. Every time you turn around, they do the same thing. You got Wig out here. I'm talking about Maxine Waters out there in California. You got Wig out there telling Black people to do this, do that. Oh, you're going to get reparations and blah, blah, blah. Then you got her cousin-in-law, little baby Wig in Texas doing the same thing. Okay. And the other one who should have a wig, which is Ayanna Priestley with her bald-headed self and her bald-headed reasoning, that woman is doing the same thing. Okay. And she's doing it on the East Coast. They have all the areas covered where Black people are. And they're going to keep pushing that agenda to help with the other agenda. Because where Ayanna Priestley is in Boston, nothing but illegals. They're fighting for illegals. Where Ratchet Crockett is in Texas, they're fighting for illegals. Where Maxine Waters is in California, they're fighting for illegals. Why did you think you were going to get reparations? It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Doesn't make any sense. And then they use you to get all riled up. They get all riled up and say, oh, well, they sold us out. They've been selling you out. Democrats have been selling you out. Like, I don't understand it. So, it's mind-boggling to me why anybody pays these people attention. I don't know why anybody does it. I don't know. But that is what's going on in California. Okay? This is why I couldn't do shorts. Okay? I couldn't do any shots today because you see, look, 30 minutes it took to get through all that. Because California is absolutely a mess. California is done. Okay? Absolutely done. That's why they're fighting so hard against Donald Trump, because that state is just, it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. Yeah. Oh, illegals definitely get reparations. Meanwhile, in Mexico, okay? Meanwhile, in Mexico, they're out there pushing everybody else out, okay? They don't want the people from Honduras. They don't want people from Cuba, okay? You come from Cuba, they want you out of there, okay? They've been doing that all weekend. You should have seen them picking up, baby carriages and just throwing them up out of here. And that's because that's how they feel actually about illegal immigration. But they want those American dollars, so they don't mind their people coming over here. Because if you actually look at it, it's billions of dollars going back to Mexico. Okay, whether they come over here and stay or whether they just come over here and work and send the money back. Okay, the pesos is not as strong as the dollar, and they send that money back and they live great. And that's what they're doing. So they don't mind that, but they don't want any other people coming up. Okay, the people from Central America, they don't want them coming up. They've been pushing back against these people for the last 3 years. And this is while Kamala and all of them were in office, and nobody ever talked about it. Not one liberal, not one Democrat. But they want to tell you that you're wrong because you want to separate families. Well, Mexico don't mind separating families, not at all. They don't mind it. Well, that is all I had on California. So you guys get down in the comments and let me know what you think about California and all of its nonsense about transgenders may be in the Olympics when it comes to California or LA. Let me know what you think about pulling up reparations again and then vetoing it again. And then let me know what you think about California and all of its nonsense with using your tax dollars to give reimbursements, aka reparations, to illegals who aren't even from this country. You can't make it up, you guys. You can't make it up. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, artifacts is absolutely ridiculous. Yep, absolutely. All right, you guys. So now let's move on because California gives me a headache. Absolutely gives me a headache. Let's move on to, let's see here. Let's move on to the Supreme Court. All right. And Congress, because everybody is talking about SCOTUS right now. And it's because everybody wants to gerrymander their states, preferably Democrats. They want to gerrymander their states and they want to make sure that they can get these seats. Okay. The only issue is that the Democrats use something called the Voting Rights Act. Okay. They use that to actually propel them to get more seats and to get more of everything. When I tell you Democrats will build something on the backs of Black people here and then give it to everybody else. That's why I don't know why Black people continue to vote for them at a 92% clip when it comes to Black liberal women and at a 70% clip when it comes to Black men. I don't get it. You haven't gotten anything for your vote, as you see in California. And they keep voting for it. I don't know why. However, I want to go ahead and get into this because it's an interesting argument and we have, some numbers and we have some actual arguments from the justices themselves. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right. Here's China News Network actually telling a little bit of truth. Here we go.
The Republicans in the House and Senate, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only one congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans, that would represent that population in some ways. So if that is gutted, Democrats could lose 19 seats. This would be a huge amount. But this is also a measure of how much the White House is concerned about this, because Donald Trump knows if the Democrats get the House again, there could be new investigations just like last time. There could be a new impeachment. There could be a lot of impediment to these plans that right now the Republicans in the House and Senate are letting run like a freight train. The Supreme.
So as you can see, okay, he was doing good until he got to the end. Okay, when I tell you they cannot hide their bias, they cannot hide their bias. However, he's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct in saying that this is what's really going on. Okay, the Democrats, they're going to use the Voting Rights Act as they've been using it, okay, in order to keep all of these seats. They're overrepresented in Congress, all right? Take a state like mine. I live in Maryland. Take a state like mine where they use the Voting Rights Act to say, oh, we need more African Americans in Congress. So they used Baltimore for the rest of the state. We have 8 seats in Maryland. 7 of them belong to the Democrats. Okay. Most, if not damn near all of Maryland, is mostly red, except for your PG counties and, you know, Baltimore City, things like that, that might be around DC or around Baltimore. Outside of that, it's not very liberal here. But we have representation of only liberals. Why? Because it's gerrymandered to death, just like Illinois is gerrymandered to death, and other liberal cities and states, okay, which you have in Texas, which you have in California. So the liberals try to act as if they have this high moral ground when they don't. And Maryland has been a focal point because we've been getting gerrymandered since gerrymandered, okay, since they were allowed to do it. And they use this Voting Rights Act. Something that's always meant for good when it comes to, you know, giving it to a minority is always used by the Democrats to cheat. Best believe that. All right. So, okay. Now that's what's going on with that. So let's get into the Supreme Court arguments, right? Now, oh, no. True Patriot, I could not do it. Maryland is a different beast. So here are some of the Supreme Court arguments, because our favorite, you know, our favorite DEI hire, Ms. Ketanji, all right, and our person that almost got fired on her day off, okay, Ms. Sotomayor, all right, those liberals on the judge, on the bench, all right, they, of course, are arguing against conservatives or against the conservative court, okay? And Ketanji is not DEI because she's black. Ketanji is DEI because Joe Biden said so, all right? Joe Biden has to be one of the most racist people I've ever seen in my life, but that's another story. Let's get into this argument, this oral argument from Ketanji. Here we go.
I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action absent discriminatory intent is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here.
There's the I don't understand. Every time she has an oral argument, a dissent, all of that is I don't understand. I've played her, you know, her I don't understands in a montage here before. It's always, I don't understand. But I don't understand. I don't understand. Child, her and Kamala are the same person. I swear to goodness.
Idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
So essentially, she is comparing being a minority, preferably a Black person, to being disabled. You cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make it up. You can't make it up. Okay. So that was her argument. Okay. It's child. It's yeah. Here's another argument. All right. But this argument here lets the cat out the bag. Okay. This argument here is actually what the problem is. And I don't even think she meant to say it, right? But it's what I always talk about. White liberals, okay? She actually let the cat out the bag to what's really the problem. They like to talk about it's the conservatives, okay? Whether white or Black. They like to talk about it that it's them. But listen to her argument here. Here we go.
That's right. And in the state of Louisiana, that analysis was conducted in the Nairn case. And it was clear that regardless of party, white Democrats were not voting for Black candidates, whether they were Democrats or not. And we know that there is such a significant chasm between how Black and white voters vote in Louisiana that there's no question that even if there is some correlation between race and party, that race is the driving factor.
So essentially, she said that the white liberals don't want to vote for Black Democrats. Okay. And that's their problem. It's their own party. That's their problem. They're gerrymandering. They're saying it's the Republicans. It's all this other stuff. No, it's their own party. Their party is absolutely racist. Okay. Are there racist people everywhere? Yes, yes, yes. However, they actually build everything on racism, okay? Or they build everything on identity politics. They build everything on what somebody looks like, what somebody's gender is, what, if they can walk, anything they can find, they are going to use. That's why their party is in a disarray. That's why. And she let it right out the bag, okay? She let it out the bag. Everybody understands what's really going on. Okay. Everybody understands this. But the minorities that support these Democrats. All right. That's the reason why you got Kamala instead of people that actually could be, I guess good Democrats, because I wouldn't vote for one. But according to liberal standards, that could be good candidates because they don't want to vote for them. Okay. They don't want to vote for them. So that's why they see it. That's why they're seeing what they see. So now let's get into what China News Network, CNN, has to say about just the whole race for Congress and these seats and the Democratic Party's chances of winning back the House. Let's get into that because they're making a whole big thing about it because of this voter rights act.
At Democrats ahead, but again, they are so far 2018, right? Because that's sort of the baseline. That was, of course, the first Trump term. That was where Democrats were sort of keeping pace. You go back to April, look at the generic congressional ballot. What you see? You see +3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see +3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now jump over to this side of the screen. What happens? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018. You look back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I remember covering this. I remember a lot of folks, including myself, saying, you know what, Republicans look pretty decent right now in terms of the fact that they had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, but things were likely going to flip. And I was looking for the same signs this year. The bottom line is it hasn't happened, Kate Baldwin. It hasn't happened. Democrats have stayed basically steady. They have fallen off the pace. Democrats were way out ahead back in 2017 on the generic congressional ballot. And now we're basically looking at Democrats ahead. But again, they are so far in back of the pace that they set back there. And so I think what a lot of folks are seeing, folks like myself, are saying, wait a minute, given what we might be seeing in redistricting, is this +3 going to be enough, Kate Baldwin?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. One change from that cycle is also this mid-decade redistricting effort that we've been covering so much. Add that in, and what do you get?
Okay, so we add that, and we take a look at the national picture, but then we, of course, taking a look at the state legislators, right? They are potentially changing things, and there are two things that are going on here. First off, net mid-decade redistricting gains. If both sides max out at this point, there are more Republican gains possible than Democratic gains. Yes, the Democrats might try to counter a Texas and a California, but you go along in the different states and basically Democrats run out of room where Republicans are able to gain and gain and gain. If both sides max out, we're probably looking at a GOP gain of +7 House seats. That doesn't even take into account the potential gutting of the VRA that is right now going to be in front of the Supreme Court. If you add that in, you could be looking.
The Voting Rights Act.
What? Yes, exactly right. The Voting Rights Act. If you add that in, then you could be looking about adding 10, 12, 15, 17 on top of this 7 seats. So I think a lot of folks like myself are looking at this. We're seeing, hey, wait a minute. Those national polls are Democrats are not gaining the way that we expected.
And they're not going to. Okay. So now you see why they're on this Voting Rights Act and why they're arguing for, keeping this, because it allows them to get more seats. Okay. Like I said, Democrats are overly represented in Congress. They need the Voters' Rights Act. Like, they need it. They absolutely need it. Okay. And they hate having to say all this stuff, but you can't deny the truth. Democrats have already gerrymandered everything that they can. Okay. Just like here in the state of Maryland, like I told you, they have multiple states like this. They can't gerrymander nothing else. What are they going to do? California might squeeze out 1 seat. They can't do anything else. So this is the reason why they care about that Voters' Rights Act. Okay, you'll have Ratchet Crockett sitting up here telling you she care about Black people. That it has absolutely nothing to do with that. She don't care anything about that. Absolutely not. She don't care. Okay, so you guys, let me know what you think about this whole argument. Okay, the argument that you can pretty much get seated in Congress for your race. Okay. Because essentially what they're saying is they need the Voters' Rights Act to actually go ahead and say, oh, well, we need Black people in office. And the only way we're going to get it is if we have this Voter Rights Act. And that's because they know the Democrats, okay, the white liberals, don't want to vote for them. And then they know they already have the Black vote, but it's not enough. Okay, so they need this to be able to add other groups in. And this is where the precious illegals come in. That's where they come in. So you guys get down in the comments and let me know what you think about all of that. All right. What you think about Ketanji's arguments. Let me know what you think about those. Okay. Outside of her saying, I don't know all the time. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about the young lady saying that, white Democrats don't want to vote for them. Shocker. And then let me know what you think about the Voting Rights Act argument overall. All right. Let me know what you think about it. It is wild. Like, I just keep seeing all this stuff and I'm just like, it's so wild. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Hey, Miss Brown Eyes, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Hey, Red Cup family, what's going on? It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Yeah, that's right, Basuda. All right, and let me think the Cash App first. Hold on. Thank you to Donna. Thank you so much, and thank you to Mike, that dude. I appreciate it. I got your Cash App. So thank you so much. I definitely appreciate you supporting the platform. All right. Last but not least, let's roll into this because it got everybody talking online. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This is the young Republicans. All right. This has everybody talking. And what I mean by everybody talking is the fact that they had, I guess, a leak, which I wouldn't really say is a leak. Sounds like more somebody snitched, somebody sent it to Politico. And yeah, that was that. All right. However, I want to get into the whole firestorm about these young Republicans because everybody is upset. They're absolutely upset. And when I say they're upset saying that the young Republicans are racist and they're the future of the party. So the entire party is just a bunch of racists. Mind you, this isn't the entire party. And these are some of the young people. However, we'll get there. I want you guys to go ahead and get into this because for some odd reason, all the Democrats want to run with this. And the funny part is the main one that wanted to talk first was Kathy Hochul, okay? The white liberal that had the nerve to say that Black kids don't know what computers are in New York. Okay, they're living in the Bronx and they don't know what computers are. They don't know how to search for things. Like, you can't make it up. Okay, she can say that, but it's not racist. But she has something to say about this alleged leak of text messages by the young Republicans, people in college and younger people, that want to run for certain offices. Okay. You can't make it up. Here we go. Kathy Hochul.
Political parties, and they believe in gas chambers.
Question? Politico reported on a group chat of a bunch of young Republicans. I'm wondering your thoughts on that, and does this reflect, is it just some bad young apples in this chat, or do you think that there's a toxicity around the entire party?
Some bad apples. These are the future of the Republican Party.
Oh.
This was so vile.
Oh.
It is hard to find the words to put into context that these are people who are part of a political party, one of two major political parties, and they believe.
Mm-hmm. What they believe?
In gas chambers.
Oh.
And rape.
Oh.
And discrimination based on the color of people's skins. These are racist, sexist, disgusting remarks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this. We have a leader from the Republican Party in this state,
Mm-hmm.
the highest ranking individual, who in the backdrop of all this calls our candidate for mayor, one of our candidates for mayor, a jihadist and a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow says, oh, what they said, these young Republicans, was wrong. Like, look at what you say yourself. Look at your inflammatory words. And maybe they have an effect on these young people, many of whom you support and have supported you. And you ought to just do a little re-examination of how far this has gone, where this is normalized enough that thousands of texts are uncovered. This is not one person saying they love Hitler. This is a whole lot of people saying things that are so disgusting and so abhorrent that everybody from the president on down should condemn them. And there's got to be consequences. Kick them out of the party. Take away their official roles. Stop using them as campaign advisors. There needs to be consequences. This bullshit has to stop.
All the Democrats are just coming up with the potty mouth. Okay, cool. So that was Kathy Hochul, right? Now, Miss Kathy, she has so much to say, right? But I don't remember Miss Kathy being that vocal about herself, all right? Because Miss Kathy, as you know,
Don't even know what the word computer is. Young Black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word
a computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges. Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is.
So this is well past the 90s, well past the early 2000s, okay? This is just last year, okay? Young kids growing up, young black kids growing up in the Bronx don't know what the word computer is. They're not into technology. They don't know these things. This woman has the nerve to say what's wrong about the young Republicans. Now, again, those text messages, those alleged text messages that, supposedly came from the young Republicans, they're nasty. They're absolutely nasty, okay? They're absolutely nasty. But I be dang if we're going to sit here and talk about somebody who should not have an office, who should not be doing anything, when you have Kathy Hochul, who talks racist talk all the time. That's all liberal whites do, okay? That's all they do. And everybody ignores it. She was allowed to say that. No pushback. Nobody said anything, okay? But conservative people. And that's the problem. It's only a problem when Republicans do it, okay? But Republicans did call it out, okay? So Political, the person, well, the company, the entity that reported on this, okay, or broke the story, they actually also reported a couple of hours ago that, Republicans are intensifying, for these people to be condemned, for these young Republicans to lose their jobs, okay? And as you can see from this article, that's exactly what's happening, all right? A lot of people call for these young men to either stop being campaign staffers, some type of punishment, right? And they're calling it out and condemning it, all right? But that's not good enough for the left-wing media, all right? So let's go ahead and get into what Chris Hayes, who hasn't reported on Jay Jones at all, okay? And those nasty text messages he had. He hasn't reported on that at all, but he couldn't wait to jump on this story, all right? He couldn't wait to jump on the story about these kids, because he knows at the end of the day, this is what will help, I guess, will help the Democratic Party. And this helps die down that story. So I want to go ahead and get into that, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Here we go.
We are getting a window into how a new generation of Republican activists talk when they think no one's listening, and it's really ugly. Politico obtained more than 7 months of Telegram chat messages between about a dozen young Republican leaders in New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. Now, MSNBC has not independently reviewed those messages, but what Politico published today shows the conservatives openly praising Adolf Hitler, making celebratory jokes about gas chambers and slavery.
So,
rape. For example, when the chair of Arizona Young Republicans asked if the New Yorkers in the chat were watching an NBA playoff game, New York State Republican Chair Peter Junta responded, "I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkeys play ball." We should note that when Politico asked for comment, the Arizona Young Republican chair declined. Junta claimed the release of the chat as part of, quote, highly coordinated year-long character assassination led by an opponent, I think a kind of internecine opponent, a fellow conservative. Out of 28,000 messages obtained, Politico identified 251 bigoted epithets in the chat. There were many more outrageous examples of racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, homophobia than we could or would want to repeat here. Here's the thing. These are not we're not talking about kids here. The age limit to the group was 40. Many chat members work inside government or party politics. One's a state senator. Another works in Trump's small business administration.
Here we go.
Politico reports that since they began making inquiries, at least 4 members of the chat have lost their jobs or had job offers rescinded.
And that's the important part. right? They've lost their jobs. They've had job offers rescinded, or they're no longer able to do something for the Republican Party. That's what's supposed to happen. Okay? You cannot stop people from being whatever they want to be. Okay? You cannot stop people from being racist. If they want to be racist, they're going to be racist. It is what it is. Right? But at the end of the day, it's about what the leadership does. And the leadership understands that a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were young men. And they made a mistake and they're about to pay for it. Okay? They're absolutely about to pay for it. But the left-wing media would like to say that, oh, this is the entire party, when they know it's not the entire party. And the reason why they want to push that propaganda is because they know more minorities have been going to the right. Okay? They're either independents or they're going to the right. And that's why they want to make sure this story gets out front and center. They want to make sure it's out front and center because they don't want anybody that is a minority going to the right. Okay? Again, those text messages that, and I say allegedly because Politico hasn't put them out yet. They only put a montage. What you see on my thumbnail, that's all they put. They put out a whole bunch of them, put them together. They haven't actually put out what was said. But nevertheless, something was said. Okay? And some of those I'm inclined to believe are true. All right? And so with that being said, heads roll. And that's fine. That's what's supposed to happen. That's absolutely what's supposed to happen. I'm fine with it. It is what it is. So this is what's supposed to happen. Meanwhile, you have CNN, of course. CNN are going, well, the panel is going back and forth. I want you guys to see some of the arguments that happened on Abby Phillips' program. Here we go.
The whole history of racism in the Republican Party started in 19...
You guys had slavery. We were against it.
Okay, let me
The
finish.
Democratic Party literally was a party of slavery. So let's not act like there's not a history. If you want to talk history, slavery is the Democratic Party.
Why don't we just listen to you then? Tell us about Black history.
On that one, every American should be able to tell you about it. You don't have to be black to say that the Democratic Party was in favor of slavery, the party of slavery.
Then you don't know what you're talking about. Let me just say that.
I do. It wasn't the Republican Party.
History is there. Because I do think that
the whole history.
So they're arguing about the history of slavery. Okay. And the gentleman there is saying, yeah, the Democratic Party literally is the party of slavery. They are. Okay. A lot of people like to lie and say that the party switched. No, they didn't, because the Republicans were the ones that introduced the Civil Rights Bill. Okay. They introduced that. The Democrats didn't even want to sign it until it became feasible for them to sign it. Okay. When they needed something for a campaign. Why not do civil rights? All of them voted against it. But when they needed it, they voted for it. Okay. They were against it before they were for it. And they still really don't care about civil rights, because as you see with the Voters' Rights Act and all these other things, they use it for everybody else but the person or the people that it was intended for. So again, the Democrats have no leg to stand on. All right. Now, lastly, I want to get into what I think is the most profound thing. Right? Because here's the thing about it. The most profound thing about all of this, they will say Donald Trump is a racist. They will say that everybody in the Republican Party is a racist. These young men who maybe are racist. All right. But yet they will not say that Democrats are racist. I just showed you what Kathy Hochul said. Okay. What she said about the young Republicans and what she said about Black people in the Bronx, young Black kids in the Bronx. Now, this is a CBS reporter who was fired from CBS for going through Hunter Biden's laptop and getting it FBI confirmed. But it's what she found in that laptop outside of the Russian, Ukraine stuff. It was the text messages that she found on this laptop. I want you to see what she said that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and others were doing. Here we go.
Cast a story about the Hunter Biden laptop after the midterm elections in 2022.
we commissioned a forensic review. I got a copy of the laptop data. I have it here still. I went to a lot of effort to get the cleanest copy of the laptop data, the same data that was provided to the FBI, because I didn't want to have any professional journalistic risk for CBS News. I wanted this thing to be totally locked down. When we did the story, we did it after the midterms. I argued against that because it was ready before the midterms. And my training is that you should always do the story when it's ready to go. You should not be dictated by the political cycle. Once we got the laptop story on the morning news, I felt that there was so much there that we could still do. For example, in the text messages, there's unfortunately the use of the N-word, the liberal use of the N-word. And I thought this was worthy of a story, but I was told that it was not something that interested CBS News. Then I asked for a forensic review of the laptop, and we found that there were more than half a dozen emails that were likely used by Joe Biden. I thought that was a story, but the answer that came back was, well, we need to know what the content is of the emails. But that was going to be a years-long process. So there was no way. So there were a lot of reasons I was told not to do it, not to pursue it.
So as you heard, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in text messages literally used the N-word regularly, okay, as white men, okay, white liberal men at that. Go figure, okay? Go figure. Joe Biden uses the N-word. I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked, okay? I'm so shocked. No, I'm not. Because at the end of the day, this is the thought process of a lot of Democrats. You have literally Robert Byrd, who used to be a KKK member, okay? And was one up into the early 70s. He didn't relinquish it when he got elected. And he is a Democrat that is revered, okay? Barack Obama spoke at his funeral, and so did Joe Biden and the rest, okay? So at the end of the day, again, these text messages supposedly from these young boys, absolutely appalling. Okay? Absolutely appalling. It's absolutely despicable. And that's what should happen. Okay? If they're getting removed from certain types of positions, jobs, all of that good stuff, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, you don't want people actually doing things that are against you as an American citizen. Not to white people, not to black people. Okay? So if you can't put your biases aside, you should not be in public office. You can be whatever you want to be. This is a free country, but you should not be in public office. So I am 100% okay with whatever happens. Okay? With the Republican Party and how they punish these people on these text messages. But I will not sit and listen to white liberals talk about racism or somebody saying racist things when we have to hear racist epithets from Joe Biden, especially the last 4 years, okay? You're not black if you don't vote for me. All right? They're going to put y'all back in chains. He doesn't want to be around. He doesn't want his kids to go to school with jungle bunnies. Like all types of stuff that Joe Biden has said. Like you can't make it up because Joe Biden says them and then everybody just brushes it off. I really don't care because I don't vote for Joe Biden. But people that vote for Joe Biden actually sit there and try to rationalize these things. The man doesn't like you. Okay? He doesn't. He doesn't. And it's okay. I don't vote for him. He shouldn't be in public office because this is how he thinks. And there's actual evidence. An actual reporter actually had text messages. And guess what? The liberal media didn't want to run it. But they have no problem with running these young boys who aren't in office. Okay? They have no problem with running their text messages. And they have no problem with running the ones that are in office because they want to pin the Republican side as all races. Because that's the propaganda. Because they don't want you having your own mind. They don't want that happening at all. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what's happening. Okay. We all know there's unsavory things on both sides, but what side is benefiting you as a person, whether male, female, black, white, whatever? What side is benefiting you? What side is actually making it easier for you to actually get up and go? Because in the words of James Brown, I don't need you to hold anything up for me. Just open the door. I walk through it myself. Okay? All you got to do is want to do something. Where there's a will, there's a way. And that's what the conservative Republican side is. If you want to go do something, I'm going to give you the leash to do it. The Democrats want you dependent on them. And that's why they're moving to the illegals, because they're starting to see that other groups are waking up to their BS. Absolutely. So those are my thoughts on these. Right, George? Yes, I forgot about that one. Poor kids are just as smart as white kids. Who's the poor kids? Oh, Lord. Yeah, I almost forgot about that one. It's so many. Joe Biden's greatest racist hits. Child, golden. Absolutely golden. Y'all are on it in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Gavin Newsom, the things that he does over there in California, man, it's just, it's ridiculous. Okay. All of these Democrats, they're absolutely insane. All right. And then you do have rhinos. Okay. Like the Cheneys. You have people like that. The Bushes. They're absolutely insane. They don't care about anybody, really. So, yes, you have it on both sides. But at the end of the day, what I'm telling you is they are going to try anything to get you to put them back in office. And the American people cannot fall for this. If they fall for it, oh well. Absolutely, oh well. I don't want to hear not anything anymore. Because at the end of the day, if we put these people back in office, you are going to see what they're going to spend your money on, what they're going to spend their time doing. You're going to see who they put first, and it is not America. So we shall see, because it's favoring the Republicans, but I doubt if, the Democrats get in. But they always have a chance, because you have weaklings in America that can't see through the farce. So those are my thoughts on that. You guys get down in the comments and let me know what you think about all of that. All right, let me know. Let me go ahead really quick and read these. Jay the Legend, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Bonnie Watson Coleman stole a lot of money in New Jersey. Those pensions, oh my gosh. Absolutely. Democrats have done a lot of nasty stuff. New York, that's why it's the way it is now. Thank you so much for the super chat. Ian, with the $5 super chat, it seems like none of these pundits have men for friends. You know why? It's how we bond. These people are too sensitive. This looks like the fruit of feminism. It's absolutely feminism. It's absolutely feminism. It's, trying to turn the country, on its head. It's just a whole bunch of nonsense. They don't like the patriarchy. They don't like strong men. Everything is toxic, yada, 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 yada. All right. You can have a nuanced argument about, bad text messages, nasty text messages, without an entire party being racist, because nobody says the entire Democratic Party are a bunch of lunatics, which I think a lot of them are, but nobody says that. And we all see Antifa and all these leftists out here with the septum rings and all these tattoos and all this other stuff, pink, purple hair, blue hair, all this crazy nonsense. Okay. We see their staffers doing all types of stuff, putting their hands in people's faces. We see them shooting at people, that are conservative. You see them doing all types of nasty things. And nobody says the entire Democratic Party are left-wing nuts. But a group of young Republicans do something, and yeah, that's all a MAGA. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely. But thank you guys for pulling up. I appreciate you. I wanted to talk about that because at the end of the day, you know, a lot of the people don't want to touch any of these subjects. Like, and they don't want to give their opinions because they're afraid they might piss some people off. And it is what it is. Okay. But I think everything should be talked about because this is America. This is who we are. And we should be able to have discourse. We should be able to disagree. And we should be able to, you know, come to a consensus in the middle. But one thing you can't get me to do is vote for a Democrat. So don't try. Thank you guys for pulling up. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you, Debo. Thank you, Got Flavor. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Nick J. Thank you, J. Desleray. No, you're not far behind. Thank you for pulling up. Thank you, Artifacts. Thank you, George Everett. I appreciate you. Thank you, Stephen Webb. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Sugar Shane. Thank you, Loud and Clear. I think I said it, but thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Nick J. Thank you to Alicia. I appreciate it. Thank you, Clifton Russell. Thank you. I think this is Fudge 357. Yeah. Y'all gotta tell me what these names be about, child. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Lord. Big Booty Trudy. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny Jackson. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Trevor Jackson. I appreciate you. What thank you, Got Flavor. Yeah. Jim Crow Joe. Yep. Absolutely. That's his name. Who else we got in the building? No, I think I said that name. Thank you, James Robinson. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jay the Legend Sports. I appreciate you. All right. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Eric Wealth Harris. I appreciate you. Thank you, Terrible People Podcast. Thank you to everybody who pulled up. Thank you, Mike That Dude on Cash App. I appreciate you. Thank you, Donna on Cash App. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys, also let me know what days you guys also would like to see live streams. All right. Hit me up on, well, yeah, you can leave me a comment. Hit me in the comments and let me know what days. Okay. What days do you think are cool? All right. And then let me know what you guys would like to see, what you like to talk about. Let me know that as well. I always appreciate your feedback. Okay. It's your girl, Micca, and I'm out. Peace.